welcome to an episode of The Diplomats. This used to be a regular episode, but when Umble joins us, it's now a special episode. Given how busy the man is, he can only come in on certain times. We're going to continue to analyze the most analyzed game in diplomacy history because it's not done until Umble's had his final say about what happened. This podcast, like all of the Diplomats podcasts, is sponsored by diplomacybriefing.com, where you can get all the latest diplomacy content right to your mailbox for free by signing up. Umble happens to be the editor of Diplomacy Briefing, so why don't you tell us a little bit more for those listening?
Yeah, so Diplomacy Briefing, like Gohorn said, is a weekly update on diplomacy. You can get an email, you can do social media, and it keeps you up to date on all the new tournaments that are starting, tournament results. There's always a strategy article every week, and oftentimes it's by a tournament winner. And in fact, this coming Friday, the strategy article will be from the winner of this Nexus tournament. So it's the way to stay plugged in with everything going on in the face-to-face scene, the virtual scene, and the online scene. So it's free. We are right there at 700 subscribers and followers. So it's got the farthest reach, I'd say, of any diplomacy publication or site as far as people get this regularly. So say if you're a tournament organizer or you have things of interest for diplomacy, let us know. I'm the founder, but we have 3 other editors that work on each issue. And so they've joined the team several months ago. So it's just really kind of a way we give back to the hobby and are happy to be a part of it.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, one of those editors is our own Lady Razor.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's going to be a little special on Lady Razor's artwork.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely. Are you talking about with the briefing?
Yes.
Well, yeah, we'll definitely be linking in. Yeah, we'll link into all of that. We're kind of doing a full Nexus recap of season 5. So we'll link into that. We'll link into the Diplomats podcast with the interviews and everything that you guys had. And then also, we'll be talking about the upcoming season 6. We got the strategy article from the winner. So yeah, it's a very Nexus themed issue. This one coming up on Friday.
Fantastic. Well, look, you can look for those links and you can see Lady Razor's latest art, Alan Callhammer's coloring. And of course, you saw this one, Umble.
Yes.
This is Umble winning the Cold War finals.
Yes. Yeah, that was good times. And the first, been very close to winning plenty of tournaments and finally won. But of course, it's a variant. So for probably a lot of people, they don't think it counts. There's not really any diplomacy involved in it. It's just straight tactics. So it's a fun variant, but it's not quite the same thing. But it is a crown, but it's not a satisfying crown. So I'm still waiting for a real one.
All right. So what we want to do here, if I'm not mistaken, is, and we can do this any way you want, but my thinking is last year or last season, you went through why you think each player lost, at least on the map. And we will sort of do a recap, not season by season, but more just of what you think the important years are.
Yeah. So this is, you and I did all of season 3 and all of season 4 together. And at the end of every season, we did a kind of a recap podcast of why each power lost and why the winner won. So just key times for each of those powers. Now, sometimes they're tactic based, but other times there's a strategy based, like this is a move you should have made, or here the dynamic was, this was another direction you should have gone. So it's not always just the tactic side of it. There's also the strategy side. And occasionally some were just diplomatic failures that we can't really speak to, but we can say this is what you should have done. You should have been able to work this out diplomacy, and maybe they tried, but they failed for whatever reason.
All right, so we'll go to the player first eliminated, although he was eliminated relatively late in the game, 1907, which is former world champion Doc Bender. You've got him losing right in 1900.
Yeah. Before the finals even started. Now, if you hang out on the Nexus, you'll know my opinion is that I think the finals should be anonymous, just like the seasons. I played, there's 2 seasons I played. I played in season 1 and season 2, and I was in the finals both times. And a lot of times probably people think that I want anonymous just because I don't want people to gang up on me. And there's truth to that. But it's also, in my opinion, it's a more it adds a more fun part for the finalist because you're also trying to figure out identities, and it adds like another layer of diplomacy to how you present yourself, because you can completely reinvent yourself for the game. You can try to act like somebody else, and it just, to me, it makes it a little more fun, and I think it makes it more fun for the spectators also, because you're not sure who it is, and because of that, there's also kind of like at the end like this, oh, and here was the winner, and so it's kind of it creates kind of an excitement too for the game to end, because like even if you have like someone that's way ahead, kind of like Germany was over the last 2 or 3 years, the audience doesn't know who it is, so it's still a very exciting thing when it ends. And also I think it makes it easier to do commentating because you don't know who the players are, so people don't think you're bashing them, and they can't take it as personal either. It's like, a lot of this fourth wall stuff too, which I don't think is probably the best thing to do. I don't think if you're playing the finals, you should be talking publicly with Nexus about what's going on in the game. I think that's I think it's better to let that kind of stuff stay in the game. That's my opinion. But I so with Doc talking about with France, right from the everybody knew his reputation as being a world champion. Also, he was top ranked going in, so if he tied with anybody at the end for first, he would win. So those were going to be some meta considerations right from the get-go for people to go after him. And he I know his thought process, and a lot of these face-to-face players, this is their process. Hey, you can't do anonymous and face-to-face, so we shouldn't do it online. But
And he
what they
said that
forget,
online. He publicly said that.
yeah. But here's what he's forgetting, like, and I get what he's saying, but online has different challenges than face-to-face does. Um, and the biggest being is in face-to-face, you're in short deadlines, and it doesn't matter if you're if you're considered one of the best players. People generally, your good players want to be with good players because in those short deadlines, you want people making right decisions. You can't talk over every single spot. So there's it, you know, people knowing who you are is not nearly as much a liability in face to face as it is online. And online, you can have 2 people that are not nearly as good as you take you out just because they'll have so much time to talk through tactically what to do. Whereas, in a face to face encounter, the more experienced, better player has more of an advantage in those short time limits. So, in my opinion, I mean, it's fine if they want to do it. I think I the format's different, and I think there's other reasons that the targeting is it's never fun for it to be done to you, for one. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want to play 3 months and work really hard to get the number 1 position and then get gang piled because people knew who I was. I think the online format final should stay the same as the regular season. That's my opinion. So one of the things that made it hard for him is that he had a target on his back before the game started. So
So I know you have a tactical issue in fall
yeah,
1901, but I think I my 2 nitpicks, and they really just are nitpicks with Doc, are I know he soloed his France in a qualifying game for the World Championship and then picked France, and he elucidated his reasons as to why he picked France. Thought it was defensible and he could hang on while others turned on each other. But I also remember saying his favorite country to play was Italy. I think Italy would have been a better choice for him
oh, I agree.
because he would have been less threatening to the board.
I agree. I agree with you completely. Italy would have been, if you think that you're going to get jumped, Italy is probably the best one to get because you won't seem as scary, and nobody really goes into let me kill Italy right off the bat usually. Like that's very, very uncommon,
Oh,
and usually if you do that, that means you're going to die pretty quick too because you have to leave yourself open to
correct.
attack Italy that quick. So I think I'm with you. I think that would be that's another thing to consider, that I think picking France, well, yes, it's he's going to be able to defend really well. Also, it's going to make his target even bigger. And so you're lessening your chance of getting an ally. And I'm with you. I think Italy would have probably been the better choice there.
The only tactical issue is it was clear from England's interview and Doc's interview that England was never going to ally with Doc and told him that before spring 1901 occurred. I think knowing that information, the channel move would have been uh, just a hair better than what he did. He could
Yeah,
have
if he
taken,
knew,
yeah.
yeah, if he knew that, probably move to the channel and maybe do the opening where you do Marseille to Spain and throw Paris down to Gascony and get your two bottom builds from that, or play it a little slower. I don't know. But the other thing that would have been really good is if in fall 1901, maybe he offered it to Germany. And you may know this, but in my opinion, he should have offered to do Germany and Belgium, and
He
this would
did.
have done a few. Oh, he did.
Germany says that he offered it, and that Germany felt like this was Doc. This get, in fact, had the opposite effect that you would think. Germany said he became very suspicious that something was going on with France, and that Doc was trying to make him be a big target with three builds.
Interesting. Yeah, well, that would have been that would have been the thing to do for him. But Germany, I guess, wisely sniffed that out. But here's the other thing: if you, um, I think it's always wise if you're France, you need if you know that you're not going to get into Belgium, you need to support somebody in. And I think going to Belgium, it would have been better for him to hold than to go for it. And obviously, I guess with what you're saying is, it probably said they both said we'll bounce there.
Actually, all three agreed to bounce. Believe it or not, they
Mm-hmm.
agreed to a three-way bounce, and then Germany and England changed the order.
Yeah, yeah. If I was France, I would have said to England, "Hey, well, first of all, if you thought everybody was going to bounce, you definitely should have supported somebody, because then you can play the other one off that they lied.
Ah,
If you really thought that, see, my opinion is this: when it comes to Belgium, your goal for Belgium should not necessarily be that you get it. It should be that through that you get an ally. And so there's a lot of different ways you can approach that, even when people are throwing out bounces and things like this. In my opinion, if you know you're not going to get it, you should support somebody in, regardless of who you are. Whether you're England, France, or Germany, if you know you're not going to get it, it's better for you to support somebody in and try to lock up an alliance, because if you can get two people disagreeing, then you're going to be in a good spot. Yeah, so to me, that was a mistake there. I would never ever agree to everybody bouncing. I feel like that makes it more likely you are going to be targeted, and he got played in that regard, in my opinion. If he knew all three were agreeing, you definitely should have supported someone in. And that's maybe a little too Machiavellian for some players, but that's what I would have done.
okay. Let's talk about Russia. Our friend Ewok, Village Idiot,
Mhm.
very good player, but no one can say he had a lot of dynamic play in this game.
No, I'm sure he's not happy with this game either. I mean, anybody kind of watching would say that there's just opportunities that he missed pretty regularly. And that's the one problem, like trying to slow play something when you're not a slow player. Uh, I don't know. As I hit to me, he has to be pretty disappointed with the result, just because he almost got eliminated. He ended with one center,
Right.
and that's never fun. And he had some good moments, but he never really was able to capitalize on it. Um, so there's a few years to look at when it comes to Russia. So spring 1902. Um, this to me, and I think I did 3 or 4 podcasts with you in Nexus, but right, the whenever this one was, I said at the beginning, look, you've got Germany, who bounced you out of Sweden. who is obviously working with England against France, and your decision is, I'm going to have Warsaw hold. Like that, you got to do something to break up England and Germany, and just letting them take out France is terrible for you because you're going to be getting hit the next turn. So what you need to do is you need to put pressure on Germany just to help France, just for that sake. You need to throw that army to Silesia and make him work for some things. And instead, he just had it sit back doing nothing at all, nothing at all. And that was terrible. And so by the time he finally moves it the next year, France is already losing centers. So it was just really, really bad. He's got Germany is already there in Burgundy, England's lined up, and you'll see there then in the fall.
I mean, but just look at this. I mean, hold, bounce, self bounce, and one lone dude in Silesia.
Yeah.
I mean, Village Idiots, I saw War from a distance. Warsaw, yeah, I mean, was fantastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. All I think there's probably like 3 drawings that are all making jokes about holding. If you go through the game, you'll find different points where it's holding. And holding's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's good to kind of survey the land and make other people commit. So it's not always a bad thing. But like to me, in spring 1902, you knew what the dynamic was at that point, and it's now your job to insert yourself to change it, because an EG with France falling is not good for you. And especially since there has already been an Austria, Italy, Russia alliance at that point, you had some freedom while they concentrated on Turkey to go to at least put a little bit of pressure and free up France some. One of the things that I think is especially interesting to me is why there never seemed to be an Italy-Russia alliance materialized in this game. Both of those guys know each other. They both met face to face at a tournament. And it seems to me there were multiple moments where Italy and Russia should have coordinated really well together because they both needed to do things against Austria. And so I think for both of them, that's a huge diplomatic failure. Italy, I think, pivoted at times to the West before the East was resolved. And Russia let a lot of opportunities go. Fall 1906, maybe if we can jump over to that. In fall 1906, this to me, a few things, was not aggressive enough when maybe I'm wanting the one before that. Actually, I'm sorry. I think I want fall 1905. That's what I think I wanted. Yeah. Yeah, to me, this here wasn't aggressive enough. If you're taking Vienna, first of all, you shouldn't be helping Austria into Bulgaria.
He said that would convince Austria that it was only a soft stab and that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that'll make them feel better. Oh, you didn't take as many centers as you wanted. First of all, who's ever said it was a soft stab? That's ridiculous.
He said it. He said it in his interview.
I know, that's hilarious. I didn't stick a whole sword through you. It was only a dagger, and it was a small one at that. That's so stupid. You're taking his other home center, and I hope if you're going to take someone out, you need to take someone out. This is a lesson Austria also is going to find out the hard way. If you are going for somebody, you need to go all in, and so he should have moved Romania to Budapest to shore up some things there. And supporting Constantinople into Bulgaria was terrible. That doesn't make sense. It's like a schizophrenic decision that should not have happened. You either don't stab Austria, or if you're going to do it, you don't help him into Constantinople. He really needed to shore up his. If he's going to take Vienna, you can't do just a short-term gain like that. You've got to make it count. And so if he had done it, and honestly, probably the better thing would have been is to do Black Sea to Ankara. If you know that that's going to happen, bounce Austria there, because then what happens? Let's see. So Austria then would drop down to 1, 2, 3, 4. So he'd be at 5, and with Italy coming on board, which hopefully that would happen. No, because he lost Greece too. So Austria would have dropped, if he would have done that, would have dropped to 4, and he would have been a much more bigger player there. And hopefully that IR then would have materialized, because that's really what he needed. That was a real mistake there. Fall 1905 was the real mistake, and supporting him into Bulgaria, that's terrible. What kind of person says, I'm going to take another one of his home centers, but I won't really evacerate him? This is diplomacy, man. If you're going to be stabbing somebody, you better, I mean, a baseline rule is, if you are stabbing somebody, you need to make sure that you can win with that, that you can take them out, or that it's going to win you the game, because you can't take a guy's home center and then give him another center in return and say, hey, we're even.
Well, as Eddie Brisson said in his Diplo Academy video, the one undisputable truth of diplomacy is, once you stab someone, keep going.
Right. And what we're going to see is Austria is going to end up killing him, taking him out by himself. I mean, he's going to lose all of these centers, and Austria's just going to keep pushing. And so, yeah, that was really, really a terrible point. That was a point where he had started to get some momentum. And then on top of that, diplomatically, the big thing was not ever getting on the same page with Italy and really pushing together. They both really needed to do that. And it's just surprising to me, because Austria attacked, Austria was so wishy-washy this game that Italy and Russia couldn't work together to take them out. That's hard for me to wrap my mind around why that didn't happen. I don't know if they gave you any insight into that, but.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, I think that Russia really treasured his relationship with Austria, built up during the qualifying rounds, viewed Italy to be an unreliable player in the long run, didn't feel the same thing of Austria, just felt him to be a little inexperienced. Austria himself sort of said he, stabbed the wrong way early, and was always trying to recover from that.
Yeah.
My critique, though, of Village Idiot, and this is not because I'm a conchophile, but my game, okay, I don't have Village Idiots or Ewok's tactical abilities. I don't have your tactical abilities, but I like my diplomatic game, and I don't like to limit my diplomatic options. And by seemingly eliminating Conk as a working partner from the
Yeah.
moment it started, when there were opportunities, like you wanted to talk about fall 1905. Well, he didn't do that because it would have given Conk 2 bills in
Right.
Bulgaria and Greece.
Right.
And it is that mindset of and that other players talked about, which was, it was indisputable that Russia and Turkey would never work together. There was never an option. And I don't think
Yeah.
he ever considered it as an option, which is strange for diplomacy when there are options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get it a little bit, some decisions there that he made on that, but there were a few points that we've talked about that I was like, hey, he should have worked with Turkey here, work with Turkey there. But the big thing is, I just don't understand why Italy and Russia could never figure this out long term, and why that relationship wasn't developed. I mean, I don't like working with people I don't like or are unreliable either, but sometimes it's like that's the only way forward. Like, if you're going to win, this is what you got to do, and you got to roll the dice on that. And so, yeah, to me, that was the big problem. I don't have a lot to say about why England lost the game. I mean, what to me, in my opinion, from what I watched, I felt that on the board, England was the weakest at exerting their will. And it felt early on to me like Germany was the one dictating the alliance by the type of moves they were making. That they were more risky for England than for Germany. And Germany was the one getting to eat first. He was the first one that got a center in France. He's the first one that got something there from Scandinavia. And he was the one that was dictating the course of that alliance. And he wasn't very efficient either on attacking France. In a lot of ways, how he went about it was a masterclass on how not to do it with his fleets. And he left North Atlantic open, which allowed France eventually to move back there. I think that's the one he moved to, right? He didn't go to the Irish Sea.
Correct.
Yeah. And you North Atlantic Ocean is the more important one to get than Irish Sea if you're going.
Right
You can
there.
recover. Yeah, you can recover relative, in several different ways if he gets into the Irish Sea. If he gets into North Atlantic, he can create all kinds of problems. He can come around you. It's just not nearly. That's the better one to move out. And the other reason is you want to get to the North Atlantic anyway, because then you can support English Channel up to the Irish if needed, and get all your fleets over into position. So he wasn't very efficient, and so that made him lose tempo, which allowed Germany eventually to stab. And he just never after that did a lot to me that really showed a lot of initiative on controlling the flow of the game, controlling what was going to happen. It shows somewhat with him not being able to work with anyone to attack Germany, really. So I'm not sure exactly what was all there, but in my opinion, when it came to like actually forming a plan himself and being able to exert that, to me, it looked like he was the most ineffective with that.
So Marianne played England, and maybe the nicest person I've ever interviewed in diplomacy.
Oh, but Babbo has to be that.
No. He's nicer than Babbo.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, and Babbo's nice.
Yeah.
But if anything, he's a little bit too much of a sweetheart. And he let Germany dictate a lot of negotiations. You can hear him describe it. And then he needed a friend. He let Italy dictate negotiations. But I it's not that he's inexperienced. I don't think it's yeah, he made a tactical mistake here or there, which I do every game, and I think that you can recover sometimes from tactical mistakes, but it was this feeling I think that others got that they could just sort of dictate to him that uh, hurt him, and he
Yeah.
tried to be all things to all people, and he didn't insist when he needed to insist. He didn't insist on taking St. Petersburg. Germany was like, what's the point of taking St. Petersburg with a fleet? And he's like, well, I need a bill to help with France. He goes, well, we can't do anything. So I will never help you into St. Petersburg until it's an army. So eventually he convoys the army in Belgium, which is when he gets stabbed.
See, and here's something that's very telling there too. So, if someone said that to me, I would have been taking Holland. If someone's saying that to me, I'm taking Holland and saying, look, I've gone with the wrong person. If you're telling me that you're not going to help me and you're too ahead of me, that says all I need to know. So but yeah, I mean, like that's what it looked like tactically. So apparently what was going on diplomatically was exactly what it looked like. He was the junior partner. And here's the problem. If you play that way, how are you ever going to win the game? How are you going to win if you're the one that's letting everyone make the decisions? Now, there's ways
he
for you to
said
win.
that as soon as he took St. Petersburg, he would stab. And that's why, and so Germany just got to him right before he would have done it.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you notice here, England was supposed to get into Spain. No, the misorder here. I'm sorry. Never mind.
Yeah. No, I think it's the next one when Germany steps.
Correct. Yeah.
But
there,
that's an important lesson. It's you get into the finals. First of all, if you get into the finals, you should come into it with a confidence. I'm here for a reason. I'm going to play my game, and I'm not going to be intimidated. Now, there's something to be said about stepping back and, you don't have to necessarily dictate the conversation, but you can't let people make you do things that are not what you want to do. And, sometimes it's okay to let someone, feel like they're in charge, but that should be what it is. They feel like they're in charge. They're not necessarily. And just his moves were just so you could tell it was Germany who was the one making it happen. And if he said to him, I'm only going to help you into a center if you do it my way. Well, sorry, buddy. That's the end of that alliance. I'm going to catch your centers as soon as I can. That I would have, that would have been a moment because Germany was still in France. He could have taken Holland and, built another army, convoyed it in, and then just gone to town. And that would have been a really good spot too, because Russia wasn't, super strong there in the north and was kind of busy. So that's my opinion on England. Just got to come ready to play next time.
Okay, Conk in Turkey. How did he lose?
Yeah. Well, for Turkey, there's not a lot to complain as far as tactically, because he had an air alliance and when come against him. And when that happens, your whole goal as Turkey is to do whatever you can to break them up. And, in my season 2 finals, I was Turkey. That's how it started out against me. Italy, Austria, Russia, none of them working with me, none of them helping me. And thankfully, I was able to get Italy to attack Austria, and that opened up the game for me. But Turkey was able to do a little bit of that. He got Austria to help him attack against, or actually, he supported Austria against Italy, and
Correct.
that fall 1903. Or maybe, I'm sorry, fall 1902 is when he did it, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, listeners, for the map. Let's get to that move.
Yeah, something like that.
Right
Yeah, fall
here.
1902. Yeah, which was really neat and fun. I mean, when you're watching it, I don't think it was a great move for Austria, probably, but not terrible. I mean, it's fun. It's a fun one. It's not a terrible one. It's just the problem. Here's the problem: when you make these deals with Turkey, you're really selling your soul, because whatever you get off of Italy, Turkey's going to be taking it off you. So the only person, like, ultimately it's benefiting is Turkey. You're stopping your attack when you're making, good progress. And at the end of the day, this was just straight up greed. He's like, I'm getting Bulgaria. I'll take Trieste. I'll be set up to get Italy, and I'm going to be at, 6 centers, which I get it. And I'm not saying that was even a terrible move, but Turkey got that. And then for whatever reason in fall 1903, Italy completely, Austria completely changed course and then went against Turkey,
I'll
which,
tell I'll tell you
yeah,
why.
talk to me about that. Mm-hmm.
Because Austria was upset in the spring that Italy moved Smyrna to Khan against his wishes.
Oh, you mean Turkey?
Turkey moved Smyrna to Khan.
Gotcha.
Uh, he said he asked for it. Conk says he asked for it. Conk says, I don't think I'm being unreasonable to move to Constantinople. Austria said, don't do it. He didn't say what happened if he did it, but he did it, and Austria was like, uh, he he lost trust. Then coupled with Russia begging him to concentrate on Germany and eliminating Turkey and changing course, and was what caused Austria to turn back.
Yeah, yeah, and that shows, that. I mean, that this is going to show a little bit also, like, later on in the game. It's gonna the same type of decision making. I would say poor decision making process is going to hurt him later in the game too. Like, if you've got a plan, you need to stick with it, unless it is shown that this is not going to work. And you were in a great position to do an air alliance and take Turkey out. You were in a great position to do it. You guys were setting everything up to be able to, and you decided to change. And it wasn't a terrible decision to go for it. You've got an army on the continent, but, like, if you're going to go with Turkey and you're Austria, you're going to have to give him something for that. And there's a few things he could have done. I mean, he could have given Turkey Bulgaria and taken Romania. I don't think that this was ultimately, I don't think it was a wise decision to do it this way. He might have become more of a target. It's true. But then again, Conk has a way of, you'll
Conk has
beg
a
him, please.
way of asking for forgiveness instead of permission.
Yeah, well, I know, I'm sure diplomatically, I know how this worked. He begs and pleads to get Austria to move to the Ionian Sea, giving, a trillion reasons why it's the wise thing to do. And so Austria commits. And as soon as Austria commits, then Konk's like, okay, and here's now all the things I want, and I'm not gonna. And so then all of a sudden, once you get married to Konk, you realize, wait a minute, he's better to date than to marry. And that's not saying much either.
We've never
So
agreed on something like as much as that statement. That
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that statement is a truism, except to Mrs. Cock.
Yeah. I'm sure he's a great person in real life, but on a diplomacy board, man, I'll tell you what, that he's going to max out your credit cards and everything he can until until you've got nothing left, and he's going to demand it, and then he's going to make you feel like, what are you saying that I can't max that card out? Don't you love me? Didn't you agree to this? And it's not worth it.
So my two things on Conk this game were as follows. One, his mistake was not picking Austria.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I just think that maybe he would have faced an RT, but I don't think he would have faced an IRT.
Mm-hmm.
He knew Village Idiot was Russia. He then immediately picks Turkey when Austria and Italy are available for understandable reasons. I know why he didn't pick Italy, but I think he should have picked Austria.
Yeah,
And
right.
maybe that would have, it's not good for Italy when Austria gets eliminated quickly. So at
Right.
least that way he would have guaranteed himself a friend.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you should have done Italy again. Why not? Maybe this would have been the one. Italy.
Tactically, I think this move was a problem, the Smyrna to Khan, because
Yeah, I'll say this. I think Italy would have been, especially if you knew Doc was in France, and I mean, selling it to attack France, whether you did it with England and Germany or just let them do it, like that would have been an easy sell. So I think Italy should have probably punched up the list a little bit more if you thought about the meta concerns. Um, Italy was going to be a much better power to play this game with Doc being in France.
so yeah, I mean, here if admittedly Austria wouldn't want to give up Bulgaria and Greece, but it would have gotten to a point where it would have happened.
Yep.
I think,
Well, I think Austria should have. If you're going to do this, like first of all, you got an army in Naples now. So unless Kant betrays you, which is possible, but he didn't do it. But unless he betrays you, you're gonna on that you're going to get a build from Naples. You could have taken Romania, so you'd still get a build. Yeah, you're going to, if you're doing an alliance with Turkey, you got to let them have Bulgaria. So I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense to me. He should have stuck with him. Though on a diplomatic side, I get it. But if you're going to go with him, I don't know. He and the other thing too is that just makes you look really unreliable when you attack Italy and then you're attacking Turkey. You go to Italy and you go back to Turkey. I mean, to me, I'm just shocked Italy and Russia were not able to coordinate closely and finish them off.
I think this is the thing that observers of the game did not get from the players until later. Is and I'm not throwing shade at Italy or Poser Tom, and I know we're going to go to Italy next, so you can talk about it. But from the pure moves, right? You can nitpick with Italy as well on should have done this or should have done that. But when you talk to the players, uniformly, Italy was mistrusted.
Hmm.
There's just, I mean, Italy did not have a friend. In fact, this is all public now. They would in the game make fun of him for creating tomfoolery based on his name, Poser Tom. They would say, "Oh, this is more tomfoolery. This is more spreading of lies and rumors and innuendo," and so Italy really suffered from this.
Huh. What how did that come across? Like what did he do that made people think that?
Well, this is the thing that frustrated uh, Audacious Hand and Superstition and myself, which is if you actually look at the moves, Italy only probably made one really overt bad move, let's say against Conk. But and you can't see evidence of betrayal on the board, but I think Italy was the initiator of so many different rumors and conversations and three-way conversations that he came to be disliked and not trusted among his allies, even though the moves on the board don't necessarily show that.
Well, we don't there's another player, which we won't say their name or anything, but he
Who
played
won
he
season
played
2 and 3?
no, 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 no. You played recently in a game, and that I had GM'd, and also was an Italian player. And I remember as I was watching him, it was like all of these deals constantly, and presses being sent out to like 3 or 4 people. Like, this is never a good thing when you send out a press. Let's say you're Italy and you send one to Austria and Russia, and you're like creating all these contracts, and then you write to Austria, oh yeah, none of that's real, and then you write to Russia and say none of that's real, and eventually, people start comparing notes and they realize, nobody can trust you for anything. I don't know if that was Italy in this game, but
So, okay. I mean, Italy was in it all the way to the end.
yeah.
So, you know,
That's why I said
uh,
I think Italy was a much better power to pick this particular game, knowing who France was, than you would normally get. Yeah. So anyway, just like we've already hit on Italy, but yeah, the relationship there was weird. If you want to maybe go over to spring 1905. I mean, to me, his way to win the game was going to be through splitting up Austria. He had to do that. There was just no way he was going to win. And I already kind of talked about this with Russia, but to me, his move set to make at this point was to go into the Adriatic, and then also throw the Ionian, or go Naples to the Ionian, and just start to put even more pressure on Austria. That was the moment and to me, it was set up to do it. You got Russia in the north. He's got very little. I mean, he's got 2 of his centers. Austria is already weak. This is the moment to make your play on the southern half. You need to do that. And he just did not make the right decision there. He had little armies in each places. He never concentrated his forces there. So I think that was his real mistake, as far as on a strategic point that really slowed him down.
I hate,
You kind
yeah.
Yeah,
I,
so that was just a strategic choice.
let's see where I, I don't know if I like this move to Trieste for no point, which he ends up losing,
Hmm.
but I don't like the stab of England uh, when he did it.
Yeah.
I can't remember the year at this point, to be honest with you. I was trying to find it. I think it's confusing now. But here's the thing: I
Hmm.
think he got too desperate too soon, because it was very clear from England in retrospect that England had a massive hatred for Germany because of the stab, and that
Yeah.
England would have thrown this game for sure to Italy,
Yeah.
but for the fact that Italy stabbed him, I think
Yeah.
in not here, but in '08.
Well, and that's the thing. That's even more reason why he should have focused
Here,
on. Yeah. Well, that's
'09.
even yeah. That's terrible for a lot of reasons. But that's even more reason why you should have earlier been attacking Austria and getting that southern half of the Balkans. So there's just a lot of mistakes strategically that he really needed to focus, and he just made it easy for Austria to consolidate his power there, and that was a mistake, a big mistake. He should have ate away and worked with Russia, whatever it took. That his way to victory was going to ultimately be carving out Austrian centers. So,
All
um,
right. Speaking of Austria, you've already talked a little bit,
yeah,
but your thoughts on Austria play?
yeah, this is a pretty easy one to choose why he lost. I mean, there's things there. Waffling between Italy and Turkey wasn't a good sign, but no, you go fall 1908. Conk is at 1 center in fall 1908. And it's at this moment, he decides, you know what? I am going to start making deals. And now you have to tell me, was Smyrna agreed?
Nope,
Either way, either way, what he should have done is he should have done a G into Constantinople.
not agreed.
Okay. Well, anyway, so he was trying to bounce. Maybe his thought was bouncing. I mean, that's
Maybe
why you
I
moved
don't.
to
I think yeah.
Bulgaria.
I mean, I don't. I can't recall precisely, if I'm honest.
I mean, that's why you moved to Bulgaria at the end of the day. I
Right.
mean, because you think he's going to move up there. But what you do is you go a G into con because then it doesn't matter where he moves. You know, it
Correct.
doesn't. It doesn't matter. You can't. Here's the thing: Turkey is never going to have any real loyalty to you. You know, yeah, it doesn't matter what he's saying. He's never going to have any real loyalty to you because you're the one who has ruined his game. And so here in fall 1908, Turkey's at one center. He goes to two. And by the end of fall 1910, he's going to be at six. So literally in 3 game years, he goes from 1 to 6. And he gets them all from Austria, really. Austria is letting him take these centers and he's trading them off with Russian ones. And he lost the game because he let Conk live, making deals
Well,
with
and you're
them.
not even talking about Tyrolia didn't need that support, but he gave the board leader an extra dot
Yeah, that
theoretically.
was stupid. Yeah, I remember saying that too at the time. That was really stupid. Why would you help someone who's the board leader take out Italy? I
In
mean,
in retrospect, this move here, going from Armenia as opposed to Rum,
mhm,
it is inexplicable in my mind. He regrets it,
yeah,
and he pointed this out. Not that I had seen it in fall 1910. He was like, I could have just bounced Romania,
yep,
taken Munich from Tyrolia, so it wouldn't have been cut,
yeah.
and
It's weird.
and and I could have had England, who would have done it because he hated Germany and Italy, bounce north in Belgium, and that would have given him the tie, and he would have won the tiebreaker.
Hmm.
So he came close, very, just not close
Yeah,
enough.
but I don't understand why Germany would did St. Petersburg to Moscow. That doesn't make sense.
I think he was just going for every center possible, just in
Yeah,
case.
weird. Yeah, you're only possibly helping someone doing that.
Okay.
That's
Uh,
weird.
well, why did Germany lose? No, wait, Germany won. Why did Germany win?
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, let me just say too, I mean, like, before I go on, like, there's not a ton to criticize about Conk tactically. And by the way, that those ending years just show why he's such a tough player and a good player. You go from one center to six, and basically he had his revenge.
And
Um,
not just that, he now has enough DBNI points to qualify for the invitational.
oh,
If
good,
I mean,
good.
based on his
All
performance.
right, okay, all right, Conk. We're expecting you to be there. You come and be a part of the festivities. I want him there.
As
All
you
right,
want, actually.
yeah, that'd be great. We'd love to have him. Um, all right, so Germany. Um, I it's always hard to evaluate why someone won. It's easier to see why they lost, right? Because a lot of times the people that won, they don't even know why they won. They just were, you got 7 people and someone's got to win. And but Germany, made a lot of you could tell made some really solid decisions. I mean, he started off, he chose the right long-term ally to have in England, which that's always really, really important. But there's a few small things that he did that really, to me, showed he was understanding the long-term effects and trying to keep board balance in the different theaters. And as Germany, you have more opportunity to do that than probably any other power. And so, like, I like how he sent some units towards Russia when it looked like Russia was going to maybe start expanding. I like how, especially, he went down into Tyrolia. I think he did it a few times, didn't he?
He did.
And just not letting anybody break out, especially there in spring 1908, dropping down there into Italy, and that being using his units in a tactical way to keep the balance there in the south. And so that shows a lot of foresight and ability. And you see there that diplomatically, the board never rallied against him. Um, and I listened a little bit to your interview of him. I haven't listened to all of it, but it doesn't sound like he was like a real puppeteer type player.
No, in fact, I think that this might help you a little bit, which is, he didn't try and puppet anybody. He was worried a little bit about getting puppeted, so he made the only commitments he made were to his ally, the really only alliance of the game that was stable for 3 years or more, which was England. But when he spoke with anyone else, when he made a commitment, he kept it
Mhm.
and wouldn't give the commitment otherwise. But he never really got anyone mad at him because of that.
Yeah. And there's a lot to be said about, you know, when you're on a board with several puppeteers, just sitting back a little bit and not trying to say, hey, I have to influence the other side of the board, or that I have to put all kinds of pressure on, be everywhere. Because sometimes, if you got a whole bunch of puppeteers, sometimes the best thing to do is, let them throw out all the plans and see how aggressively they are wanting you to help. And then you can pick kind of what you want, and playing kind of hard to get, because puppeteers love that. They love players that play a little hard to get, and then the puppeteers convince them to do that, and then you don't even do you don't do what you tell them. So and I've seen that, looking through some of the finals, you've had people win that were not really puppeteers, but they were able to you know keep things close to the chest and just take those opportunities that arose. And so ended up being a really good strategy here for Germany. And
To have the board lead for 10 seasons
yeah,
is impressive.
yeah,
Uh, he attributes his win to basically what we're saying, which was everybody other than England hated somebody way worse than me.
yeah,
And they were all afraid, even to the last moment, that if they were the ones that self-sacrificed against him, that they would end up just causing someone else to grow.
yeah. Well, my opinion, when you're talking about the most dominant win, I'm not just talking about supply centers. I'm talking about dominance throughout a game. Germany has the best one. Sometimes people can win. They have that ally that goes the whole game, and then they stab him at the end, and they get some centers. Sure, that's a way to do it, and there's nothing wrong with it. But Germany, to me, played the tightest, most um, start to finish, advanced, powerful game, and he made the right move strategically, and was able to keep so much balance on the board, full of players that were really good. So, out of all the seasons that I've watched, to me, this was the most dominant performance from start to finish.
And then couple that with he's 17.
Yeah.
He hasn't played diplomacy for a long time. English is not his first language. Very impressive young man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's gonna probably move on from this, and he's gonna, I don't know, head up the UN or something.
He was in the
It's
speedboat finals at the same time he was doing this.
wow.
He's an impressive player.
That's pretty, yeah, that is. That's pretty impressive, and very impressive. Um, so yeah, yeah, he'll probably get to a point, he'll be like, diplomacy's beneath me. I'm going to do this with real people.
Yeah. Well, Kudasov, take note. Umble does not hand out compliments lightly, but when he does, he means them. So we're all impressed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I not just the age, because like we played in season 2 with a kid that was 17, and he was definitely shrunk from the moment,
Right.
completely overwhelmed by everything that was going on. And so to come in and not just like, squeak it out and win, but just dominate and make all the right moves. And the thing is, it was perfect. He didn't have to puppeteer. There were already people on there that were doing it. He had to just keep the others focused on each other and make the moves he needed, and he chose the right ally to be able to play that off. So um it's hard to pick one thing about why he won when he did so many things right. So, uh, but I would say, the way he kept balance on the board with, just small moves, sending an army over to Russia, sending an army down into Italy at times, um, he slowed the growth of different people that just really, really helped. And, a well-deserved win, a well-deserved win. This wasn't one like, last season where, several people ended at the same amount and then it was just the best one. This was very clear he was the winner.
So you're saying Kudasov is a better Italian player than Hez?
They both support the briefing, so I would never, ever say anything against my supporters, except for you. You're the only one I let that slide, but
That's okay.
yeah.
All right. Any other final thoughts on the game or anything else that you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Well, I'm thinking through all 5 seasons. So this was for me, as you kind of watch everything, this was probably one of the best played finals from all the players. And definitely probably if you're doing the combined might, probably one of the strongest boards that the Nexus has had in the five seasons. I think it easily could be because you have Conk and Village Idiot, which are,
Play Dip and Web Dip, #1 guys.
Yeah.
You've got a world champion. You got Tom, who's a very good player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have Austria, who won the gunboat. The gunboat won.
Right.
And this is probably, in my opinion, probably the strongest board. I would say even stronger than the season 2 we had. Because season 2 was a pretty strong group. But I would say in season 2, there's only maybe one weak link in that whole game. And but this one, I wouldn't say there was any necessarily weak link. England's better than a weak link, but so this is, and there was a very it wasn't a top heavy finals either.
Well, I think I tend to agree with you, although nothing will match the psychological trauma amongst the players. These players all like each other at the end of this game.
Oh yeah, no. This isn't the most drama finals, that's for sure. The drama on that board, you will find it hard to ever match season 2 and season 1 on drama. Those are the ones I was a part of. That's why it's hard to match, It
was an entertaining game to watch and analyze it. I wish you could have been involved more, but thank you for recommending Audacious Hand and Superstition. They did a tremendous job.
Of course.
All right, so we will call it a game, and we will say thank you to the Nexus players. Thank you to Umble. Kudasov, congratulations on winning. Thanks to diplomacybriefing.com. It feels like an Academy Award speech at this point, so I will stop and say, Umble, good night until we do it again.